Welcome, curious learners, to the Deep Dive, your ultimate shortcut to truly understanding what's shaping our world without getting, completely lost in the relentless daily news cycle. Today, we're plunging headfirst into a world where the complexities of global conflicts intertwine with, frankly, groundbreaking scientific discoveries, where the very future of technology is rapidly reshaping our daily lives, and where, believe it or not, even a game of golf can spark a much deeper conversation about perspective, maybe even some lighthearted absurdity. Our mission today is, well, crystal clear. We're going to unpack a diverse stack of sources, from pressing geopolitical analyses to mind-bending scientific breakthroughs, critical economic shifts, and fascinating human stories. We'll extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight, going far beyond just the headlines to understand the why and the so what. We aim to make even those complex topics feel clear, interconnected, and hopefully throw in a few surprising facts to keep you hooked. This deep dive, as always, is custom-tailored for you, the person who wants to quickly but thoroughly grasp what matters most in our world right now. So, how are we navigating this landscape today? We'll kick things off by delving into some incredibly pressing geopolitical conflicts and humanitarian crises that are, dominating headlines. Then we'll shift gears to explore the cutting edge of science and technology, a realm where innovation meets real-world challenges. Big time. From there, we'll examine critical economic currents and their everyday impacts, before finally touching on the fascinating human stories unfolding in the worlds of sports and broader society. It's a packed agenda, so let's get started. 1. Global conflicts and humanitarian crises. We really have to begin with the ongoing global conflicts, and the situation in Gaza remains front and center, tragically continuing to intensify with a truly dire human cost. Recent reports confirm that Israeli forces have launched a ground offensive into Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. This isn't just another routine military action. It marks the very first time such an action has occurred in that specific area since the conflict began back in October 2023. This is a region that has until now largely been a refuge, so this shift marks a, significant escalation.
It absolutely signifies a deepening of the conflict and the humanitarian crisis. The situation, as described by multiple sources, including the British Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC, and Al Jazeera, is, it's basically catastrophic. We're seeing heartbreaking reports of anywhere from 67 to 115 Palestinians killed while simply trying to seek aid in northern Gaza. This discrepancy in numbers, often stems from the difficulty of accurate reporting amidst active combat and infrastructure damage. The United Nations, the UN, has gone as far as to describe the situation as the death phase, which is just chilling, with the truly shocking statistic: at least 18 deaths due to starvation in just the last 72 hours, and 4 of those were children. This just highlights the critical levels of malnutrition and the extreme risks civilians are facing just to get basic sustenance amidst ongoing blockades. It's a desperate situation where even the act of seeking food can be lethal.
It's just unfathomable, the level of desperation. Truly. And beyond the immediate violence and starvation, there are reports from sources like Al Jazeera detailing attacks on Palestinian religious sites. This includes the bombing of Gaza's only Catholic church and the destruction of mosques and cemeteries. There's also been an escalation of attacks on Christians and Muslims reported in the West Bank. What's the broader significance of these specific targets in the context of this conflict? What impact do actions like that have long-term?
Well, targeting religious or cultural sites, regardless of which side is responsible, it's not only a violation of international law, but also an attack on the very identity and heritage of a people. These places often serve as community anchors, symbols of resilience, and, repositories of history. Their destruction deepens the sense of loss, it exacerbates trauma, and it can make reconciliation incredibly difficult down the road. It's an act that transcends military objectives and strikes right at the heart of the societal fabric. And this hasn't gone unnoticed internationally either. A significant coalition of 25 countries, notably including major Western nations like the United Kingdom, France, Australia, Canada, and Japan, has issued a joint statement. They've called for an immediate end to the war in Gaza, explicitly stating that the suffering of civilians in Gaza has reached new depths. The sheer breadth of this coalition, particularly with major Western nations involved, it kind of signifies a turning point, maybe. International diplomatic pressure. It seems to be moving beyond just statements to a more unified call for action that even, traditional allies of Israel are now joining.
Right. And we consider the Gaza conflict is now in its 21st month. Alongside this mounting international pressure, it really makes you ask, what is the true comprehensive cost of such prolonged engagements? Beyond the battlefield, these alarming reports of soldier suicides in Israel, RTV has reported 5 in just 2 weeks, and the UN describing Gaza's humanitarian state as the death phase. It reveals this hidden but equally devastating toll on both combatants and civilians.
Absolutely. This reported rise in suicides is tragically believed to be linked to combat trauma from the ongoing conflict. There are also reports of a high number of reservists withdrawing from combat roles due to psychological stress. It really suggests that while political and military objectives are pursued, the human infrastructure, both mental and physical, is being pushed to, well, a breaking point. It creates these long-term societal wounds that extend far beyond any immediate resolution. According to Israel's prime minister, they're fighting on 7 fronts, which puts immense strain on forces.
7 fronts. Wow. And adding to the regional tensions, Al Jazeera also reported the detention of Marwan al-Hams. He's a senior Gaza Health Ministry official.
That's right. Detained by an Israeli undercover force in Rafah, right outside a Red Cross field hospital, which itself is meant to be a protected humanitarian zone. So that further escalates the already incredibly volatile situation. Detaining a health official, especially one involved in humanitarian efforts, it raises serious concerns about the protection of medical personnel and the overall ability to provide aid in these conflict zones.
Okay, so from the Middle East, let's turn our attention now to another highly volatile region, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which has also seen a renewed intensity in recent days. We're observing significant aerial assaults from both sides, it seems.
Yeah, exactly. Ukrainian drones have targeted Moscow, Russia's capital, and other Russian regions. Russia's air defenses claim to have intercepted, I think it was 43 drones in a single night across the Rostov and Moscow regions. They reported damage to a railway station and some private properties. This continuous drone activity, it really illustrates Ukraine's strategy to, bring the war home to Russia, create a sense of vulnerability and disruption there.
And the retaliation?
In retaliation, Russia launched multiple waves of missile and drone strikes on Kyiv, Ukraine's capital. These attacks reportedly killed 1 person and injured 7 others, with direct hits on a metro station that was actually being used as a shelter, a kindergarten, a supermarket, and a warehouse. Just devastating civilian impact. The Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed these coordinated strikes. They stated they targeted Ukraine's military-industrial complex and airfield infrastructure using long-range precision weapons and their Kinzhal hypersonic missiles.
The Kinzhals. Those are the really fast ones, right? Hard to intercept.
Extremely hard. They're known for their speed up to Mach 10, which is, over 7,600 miles per hour, and maneuverability. Moscow framed these attacks as direct retaliation for Ukrainian strikes deep into Russian territory. It signals this kind of tit-for-tat escalation that keeps civilians in both countries really on edge.
And while these attacks escalate, Western support for Ukraine continues to be a critical factor. Germany and the United States have agreed to provide 5 Patriot missile systems to Ukraine as soon as possible.
That's the report, yeah, to bolster its air defense capabilities. And for listeners, Patriot missile systems are sophisticated, long-range, all-weather air defense systems. They're designed to intercept things like tactical ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and advanced aircraft. So this is a significant move reflecting continued European and U.S. solidarity. It demonstrates a commitment to enhancing Ukraine's defensive capabilities against these intensified aerial assaults.
So this escalation in aerial attacks from both sides, it creates a bit of a paradox, doesn't it? You have renewed fighting, but then also renewed calls for peace talks. What do you think is driving this complex dance between military pressure and diplomatic overtures right now? Is one side gaining leverage, or is it more about, establishing a bargaining position?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's incredibly complex. On one hand, intensified military action can be seen as a way to gain leverage at the negotiating table, to show strength before talking. On the other hand, it could also be a sign of desperation, maybe, a way to deplete resources or break morale before a potential ceasefire. And then you have all these differing narratives emerging around aid and casualties, which makes it even harder to read.
Like what? What narratives are you seeing?
Well, for instance, you have U.S. journalist Tucker Carlson in an interview criticizing the German government, defending Russian President Vladimir Putin's actions, and claiming Germany's decline is due to its leader's failures, particularly on mass migration and economic issues. That's one perspective being put out there.
Highlighting the polarized views on the conflict, definitely.
Absolutely. And these narratives, they significantly influence public opinion and policy decisions in the supporting nations. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom is apparently pushing for a 50-day drive to arm Kyiv. This is despite existing concerns about dwindling military supplies among Western allies, which speaks to the urgency felt by some European nations, even as the logistical challenges of providing continuous high-volume military aid become, increasingly apparent.
And there are reports about casualty figures, too.
Yeah. Separately, the French newspaper Le Monde reports suggest the Ukrainian government might be significantly underreporting military casualties, potentially to maintain Western support. And these reports run alongside allegations of resistance to conscription and maybe some aggressive recruitment tactics within Ukraine itself, which complicates the picture, right? Raises questions about internal morale and the sustainability of their military efforts.
So, amidst all of this renewed intensity and frankly, conflicting information. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has announced that the third round of direct peace talks with Russia is scheduled to take place in Turkey on Wednesday.
That's the plan, yes. These talks are expected to focus on humanitarian issues and prisoner exchanges, primarily. And this announcement came just after Zelensky had suggested fresh ceasefire talks, even right before that recent drone raid on Moscow. So it's truly a complex and intertwined situation. The battlefield and the negotiating table seem to be operating in this very precarious tandem, too. Geopolitical chessboard and diplomacy.
Okay, let's move from those direct conflict zones to the broader geopolitical chessboard. China's economic power and its international standoffs are creating some significant ripples across the globe right now. One major concern for foreign businesses operating in China seems to be these exit bans.
Yes, that's causing quite a stir. We've seen an exit ban placed on a Wells Fargo executive and also a United States Commerce Department citizen. Chinese authorities claim the Wells Fargo banker is involved in a criminal case. But such actions, even with stated reasons, significantly raise concerns among foreign businesses. It highlights the risks of, potentially arbitrary restrictions and maybe a lack of clear legal process for individuals working there.
Yeah, it's a very real concern for international firms, I'd imagine. Creates uncertainty.
It absolutely points to the unpredictability that foreign companies face, which can have a chilling effect, deterring investment and operations. Yet despite these escalating trade tensions with both the U.S. and the European Union, China reported pretty robust economic growth, 5.3% in the first 6 months of the year. That slightly exceeded projections.
Interesting. Even with the trade headwinds.
Exactly. This growth comes at a time when many major economies are struggling, showcasing China's resilience, or at least its ability to manage its domestic economy effectively. Beijing is actively working towards a tariff agreement with Washington before an August 12 deadline. And they've also taken steps to ease tensions with Brussels, apparently offering concessions in exchange for the EU postponing tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. So it demonstrates this clear strategy to balance impressive domestic growth with navigating complex international trade disputes. It's a delicate diplomatic game they're playing.
Okay, let's unpack this. The interconnectedness of these global trade and political maneuvers is truly something, isn't it? Each move creates a ripple effect across continents and industries. On the flip side of those trade tensions, European Union officials are reportedly willing to accept an unbalanced tariff agreement favoring the U.S. Why would they do that?
Well, the reports suggest it's to avoid a potential 30% tariff spike threatened by President Donald Trump if he returns to office, or perhaps even sooner, depending on how negotiations go. Negotiations are ongoing with an August 1st deadline looming. And the EU is preparing for potential retaliatory measures, too. They've already approved billions in retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. So it seems like a high-stakes game of economic chicken. The EU might compromise to avoid a larger trade war, even if it means a less favorable initial deal.
A calculated risk, perhaps.
Perhaps. And the ripple effect doesn't stop with tariffs. Beijing has strongly criticized the EU's decision to include 2 Chinese banks and several companies in its latest Russia sanctions package. They deem the actions unjustified and illegal and pledge to protect its targeted entities. Now, this is significant because it directly challenges the extraterritorial reach of Western sanctions and highlights China's commitment to its economic ties with Russia.
Right, they're pushing back.
Exactly. And similarly, Russia's state-owned oil giant Rosneft criticized EU sanctions on India's Vadanar refinery. Rosneft holds a 49% stake in that refinery. They called the sanctions a violation of international law and claimed they harm India's energy security. So this highlights how economic measures are deeply intertwined with sovereignty and international law as countries push back against what they perceive as overreach. And it also connects to these broader trends of, say, de-dollarization and countries seeking to reduce reliance on Western financial systems.
Fascinating. Okay, beyond trade and sanctions, we're seeing significant shifts in alliances and regional diplomacy that could reshape the global balance of power. In Japan, for example, recent elections have seen a surge in far-right parties.
Yes, particularly Senseido, which has gained traction with an anti-foreigner stance and a Japanese-first kind of agenda. This has sparked considerable speculation about the country's future political direction, especially regarding its stance on immigration and its relationships with neighbors like South Korea and China. And this is happening even as Prime Minister Ishiba vows to stay on despite electoral setbacks, and he's facing challenges in ongoing trade negotiations with the U.S.
So, domestic politics potentially spilling over into international relations.
Absolutely. What's fascinating here is how these domestic political shifts, like the far-right surge in Japan or, say, leadership challenges in South Africa, can ripple out and profoundly affect international stability and power dynamics. For instance, former South African leader Jacob Zuma has been criticized by his own party, the African National Congress, and the ANC. Why? For supporting Morocco in the Western Sahara territorial dispute, the ANC labeled Zuma's actions reckless and provocative, accusing him of violating international diplomatic norms and potentially undermining South Africa's long-standing foreign policy position, which generally supports self-determination for Western Sahara. So this internal party dispute highlights that delicate balance between international relations and domestic political allegiances.
Okay, and meanwhile, in the Caucasus region, Azerbaijan and Russia.
Yeah, some tension there. Azerbaijan is considering filing an international lawsuit against Russia over that 2024 air crash involving an Azerbaijan Airlines flight. The aircraft was reportedly damaged during a Ukrainian drone raid in Russian airspace before it crashed in Kazakhstan, tragically resulting in 38 deaths. This potential lawsuit follows escalating tensions between Moscow and Baku, including some recent law enforcement incidents. It suggests a further strain on their relationship, which has traditionally been complex but, generally cooperative. A legal challenge of this magnitude would be a significant rupture.
Interesting. And what about India and China? Still rivals, but maybe some cautious engagement.
That seems to be the case. Despite enduring strategic competition and that unresolved boundary dispute, India and China are cautiously working towards cooperation. There was a recent visit by India's foreign minister to China, which symbolizes steps towards normalization. Both sides seem to be engaging in increased political dialogue and economic interaction, driven partly perhaps by external pressures to safeguard their own autonomy. It's a significant diplomatic tightrope walk, really. Both Asian giants trying to find common ground while protecting their national interests and navigating pressures from other global powers like the United States.
Right. And finally, on a broader strategic note, there's this fascinating, maybe slightly unsettling discussion about nuclear proliferation, the idea that more nuclear powers might actually enhance stability. How does that work?
It's definitely a counterintuitive perspective. The argument suggests that the emergence of new nuclear powers, if managed with restraint and responsibility by the dominant players, might paradoxically enhance international stability. How? By raising the cost of conventional war so high that no one dares initiate it. This perspective highlights what some see as the weakness of the current non-proliferation regime. And it points to the potential for a different, more complex nuclear landscape where more players hold the ultimate deterrent. It's a thought-provoking idea, certainly, that challenges traditional thinking about arms control and global security. Essentially, the argument posits that if more nations have a nuclear deterrent, the risk of conventional warfare escalating into a global conflict might actually decrease because the consequences of all-out war become just too catastrophic for anyone to risk.
A very chilling form of stability, if true. 3. The digital frontier. AI, cyber, and connectivity. Okay, from the complexities of geopolitical maneuvering shaping our physical world, let's pivot to an equally contested, though often unseen, battleground, the digital frontier. This week, we're seeing just how fragile our interconnected systems are, aren't we? And how that fragility is forcing a fundamental rethink of digital independence.
Absolutely. Researchers are reporting a critical, unpatched Microsoft SharePoint zero-day vulnerability. And remember, 0-day means a flaw so new, hackers are already exploiting it before a patch is even available. That makes it incredibly dangerous. This flaw has apparently already breached over 75 company servers, allowing hackers to steal cryptographic keys, which are basically digital master keys, and access sensitive systems. And this isn't just impacting corporations. Reports suggest major U.S. state agencies have been hit as well.
Wow, so even government systems are vulnerable to this 0-day.
It seems so. It's a stark reminder of how vulnerable our interconnected systems are to sophisticated attacks. But sometimes, the greatest threats come from the simplest failures. We saw a clear example from the United Kingdom. A 158-year-old transport company, K&P, was forced to shut down entirely. Why? Because international hacker gangs targeted it through a single weak password.
A weak password. Seriously. A 158-year-old company brought down by that.
Exactly. It highlights that sophisticated 0-days aren't the only threat. Fundamental cybersecurity hygiene like strong, unique passwords is absolutely critical. This company, operating since the Victorian era, gone. Not because of a complex nation-state attack, but something so basic.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The sheer vulnerability of our digital infrastructure, from massive corporate systems to a single weak password, and how it's actually shaping geopolitical strategies now.
Precisely. These widespread attacks are prompting governments globally, including those in the European Union, China, and Russia, to reconsider their reliance on Western technology providers. They're actively exploring alternatives to foreign hardware and software. Why? To enhance their digital sovereignty and mitigate these growing cybersecurity risks. This means we could be moving towards a more fragmented digital infrastructure where countries try to build their own tech ecosystems. Some people are calling these splinter nets.
Splinter nets. Okay, so beyond the vulnerabilities, artificial intelligence, AI, is continuing its transformative role across almost every sector. It feels like it's prompting a fundamental re-architecture of the digital world with AI at its core.
There's definitely a growing debate about whether AI is killing the web as we know it. AI is moving from being, specialized chatbots to being integrated pervasively into browsers. This means AI isn't just a tool you use, it's becoming embedded into the very way we access and consume information online. It's changing how search works, how content is created, how businesses interact with customers. It's fundamental. Some more radical voices are even advocating for letting the internet die and starting over, which is pretty dramatic, but it emphasizes the urgent need for businesses to adapt to this rapidly evolving landscape or risk being left behind in a completely new digital paradigm.
Letting the internet die. Wow, that's a take. But AI isn't just about browsing or information. It's being leveraged for critical public services too, right? Things that could literally be life-saving.
Absolutely. Look at the AI voice company, Hyper. They just secured $6.3 million in funding to automate 911 calls. The goal here is to significantly enhance the efficiency and effectiveness of emergency responses, using AI to quickly route calls, translate languages, maybe even triage situations, potentially reducing response times in those critical moments.
That sounds genuinely useful.
Yeah, and on a larger scale, Rune Technologies, founded by alums from the defense tech company Anduril, raised $24 million. They're deploying something called tariff, an AI-enabled predictive software designed to modernize military logistics. Their aim is, and I quote loosely here, to move operations beyond the Excel spreadsheet era.
I can picture that. Managing troop movements with Excel.
Right. So Tyros essentially uses AI to predict needs, optimize routes, manage inventories, making military operations vastly more efficient and responsive. It's a significant leap in defense capabilities.
And the business side of AI is evolving too.
Definitely. The financial success models are shifting. Take Grok's AI companions, for example. They initially drove downloads globally, but apparently their latest AI model is proving to be the real revenue generator for the company. This shows a pivot, maybe, from just consumer-facing apps to monetizing the underlying AI capability itself. It suggests the real value might lie in the foundational technology.
Interesting. And AI and crime prevention. I saw something about India.
Yes, in India, the Home Ministry plans to utilize AI-based systems, including facial recognition, smart lighting, and drones in high-risk areas and railway stations. The aim is to combat the escalating issue of crimes against women. This is a powerful application of AI for public safety, though of course it also raises important questions about privacy and surveillance. That's part of the broader conversation around AI implementation everywhere.
Yeah, the privacy aspect is always there.
Always. So this pervasive integration of AI across these varied sectors, emergency services, military logistics, commercial models, public safety, it makes you wonder, Are we witnessing a fundamental re-architecture of the digital world with AI truly at its core? Or are these just more sophisticated tools that simply amplify existing capabilities and, well, existing challenges? And, perhaps most critically, how do we ensure these powerful tools are developed and used responsibly and ethically, especially when they touch on areas like public safety and surveillance? This is an ongoing global conversation, with different nations approaching the regulatory and ethical frameworks from very different angles.
Definitely a conversation we need to keep having. Okay, from those broad societal shifts, let's bring it down to the micro level for a second. Technology is constantly reshaping our daily lives, sometimes with a major splash, sometimes with just a quiet click. Speaking of major splashes, Alaska Airlines grounded its entire fleet.
Yeah, temporarily for 3 hours due to an IT software outage. Caused significant delays and disruptions for passengers nationwide. Imagine planning a trip, getting to the airport, and then being told the entire airline fleet is just stuck. That's a direct, immediate impact of technology failing on everyday life. A traveler's nightmare.
Absolutely. But then there are the small wins too, right?
Right. On a more positive note for daily digital interactions, Chrome for iOS, that's the browser on iPhones, introduced a new feature. It simplifies switching between work and personal Google accounts. So users can seamlessly transition between different profiles without having to log out and back in constantly. It enhances convenience and productivity for iPhone users. It's a small but, significant quality of life improvement that many people using Google services will appreciate. Shows how even minor tech updates can affect our daily efficiency. 4. Unveiling the universe. Science and space exploration.
Okay, from the complexities of our digital world, let's shift our gaze outwards, way upwards, to the cosmos. What incredible new astronomical discoveries are making headlines this week? I heard something truly astounding about witnessing the birth of a solar system. Is that right?
You heard correctly. And yes, it's absolutely astounding. For the first time ever, scientists have directly witnessed the birth of a solar system. This is a truly remarkable event. It provides invaluable insights into the earliest stages of planet formation and stellar evolution. It builds on our understanding of how our own solar system formed, roughly 4.6 billion years ago from a collapsing cloud of interstellar gas and dust. This isn't just looking at a static picture or a computer model anymore. We are literally seeing the raw ingredients swirling and coalescing into future planets. It gives us an unprecedented glimpse into the cosmic nursery.
Wow. Like watching cosmic history unfold in real time. That's incredible. It truly makes you feel tiny and yet part of something so incredibly grand. And on a more local but equally astonishing note, an astronaut expressed astonishment over an impossible satellite in orbit. What's that about?
Yeah, that's a bit more mysterious. An astronaut, unnamed in the reports I saw, has expressed bafflement over a satellite whose very existence apparently challenges conventional scientific beliefs or engineering principles. Details are very scarce, which just adds to the intrigue. But the very idea of something up there defying our current understanding of physics or engineering, well, it could potentially revolutionize space exploration if it turns out to be real and understandable. It raises profound questions about the limits of our technology and the possibilities for advancing beyond our current understanding. It really begs the question, what exactly is up there?
Okay, let's unpack this. The universe is just constantly blowing my mind. From cosmic birth to mysterious objects orbiting our own planet, the wonders never cease.
It certainly sparks the imagination and pushes the boundaries of scientific inquiry. And then there are moments that just make you marvel at our place in the cosmos, like a true cosmic selfie moment. Do you remember the day Earth smiled?
Vaguely. Refresh my memory.
Cassini.
That's the one. NASA's the National Aeronautics and Space Administration's Cassini spacecraft, which was exploring Saturn and its rings. On July 19, 2013, it captured this rare and unique image. It showed Saturn, 7 of its moons, its inner rings, and Earth as just a small pale blue dot in the background. This was only possible because of a specific viewing geometry where Saturn actually eclipsed the sun's rays from Cassini's perspective. That allowed Cassini's cameras to capture these incredible backlit details that would normally be totally obscured by the sun's glare. And what's even cooler, I think, is that it marked the first time Earth's inhabitants were informed in advance that their planet would be imaged from the outer solar system. People were encouraged to go outside and wave at Saturn. Huh. I love that. Waving at Saturn from billions of miles away. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, these missions aren't just about discovery for discovery's sake, right? They're about practical applications for understanding and protecting life here on Earth and pushing the boundaries of what our technology can endure in really extreme environments.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, These missions often have very direct benefits back here. Take the powerful new NASA-ER synthetic aperture radar mission. That's NASA and the Indian Space Research Organization working together. The satellite is called MESAR. It's preparing for launch soon. This joint mission is designed to provide super high-resolution data for comprehensive monitoring of Earth, land, and ice surfaces.
Synthetic aperture radar. How does that work differently from a regular camera?
Right, good question. Synthetic aperture radar, or SAR, is a type of radar system that creates detailed images of Earth's surface by actively sending out radar signals and then recording the echoes that bounce back. The key advantage is it can see through clouds day or night, regardless of weather conditions, unlike optical cameras. NISAR aims to improve crop management, monitor natural hazards like volcanoes and earthquakes, and track changes in ice sheets and glaciers with unprecedented coverage and precision. Its dual radars can detect even really subtle changes in the Earth's surface, down to centimeters, which is incredible for climate science and disaster preparedness. This mission is a fantastic example of international collaboration for global benefit.
That sounds incredibly useful, tracking tiny shifts to predict big events. And speaking of pushing boundaries, what about the Juno mission near Jupiter? I heard about a complex repair.
Yeah, that was quite an achievement. NASA successfully executed a complex repair of the JunoCam imager aboard its Juno spacecraft. And remember, Juno is an astounding 370 million miles away, orbiting Jupiter, currently near its volcanically active moon Io. The camera had suffered significant radiation damage from Jupiter's incredibly harsh environment, corrupting almost all the images it was sending back. So the team used a process called annealing.
Annealing, like with metals.
Kind of, yeah. Essentially, they carefully raised and then slowly cooled the camera's temperature. The idea is that this allows damaged parts, like pixels on the sensor, to sort of reorganize themselves, fixing some of the radiation damage. And it worked. They temporarily restored its functionality enough to get detailed images of Io's North Polar region. This achievement has broader implications, obviously, for developing radiation-tolerant spacecraft for future missions throughout the solar system, especially as we plan for longer deep space journeys into harsh environments.
Fixing a camera from 370 million miles away by heating it up. Amazing.
Isn't it? And it's not just the big headline-grabbing missions that are advancing our understanding. NASA's GLOBE program, that stands for Global Learning and Observations to Benefit the Environment, is actively engaging students right here on Earth. For example, in Chesapeake, Virginia, students are involved in hands-on science. They're collecting environmental data on the Elizabeth River, using things like macroinvertebrates, plankton, and mosquitoes as indicators of water health and climate change. This initiative turns their local waterfront into a living laboratory. It fosters STEM literacy and directly involves the next generation in understanding and addressing environmental challenges. It's citizen science at its best, really, showing that meaningful contributions can come from anywhere.
That's fantastic, getting kids involved directly. So if we zoom out a bit, what do all these developments mean for the leadership and the future direction of space exploration? Even with leadership changes, it seems the wheels of scientific progress and space exploration just keep turning, both in orbit and on the ground, constantly pushing the boundaries of human knowledge.
That's right. Speaking of leadership, Dr. Mackenzie Lystrup, the director of NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, is departing after more than 2 years in the role. She played a key role in managing various NASA field installations and priority science missions, including the incredibly successful James Webb Space Telescope. Cynthia Simmons will serve as acting center director following her departure. Transitions happen, but the work continues.
What about the astronauts currently up there?
Well, in terms of current missions and ongoing human presence in space, NASA's SpaceX Crew 10 astronauts, who are currently aboard the International Space Station, the ISS, are preparing for their upcoming return to Earth. The crew, part of Expeditions 72 and 73, has been conducting various experiments in space. Things like research on pharmaceutical production in microgravity, how cells sense gravity, and improving protein yield for potential food production in space. These are the kinds of ongoing efforts that continuously expand our understanding of how life and industry can operate in microgravity. They're paving the way for potential space-based manufacturing and eventually those long-duration missions to Mars and beyond.
So what does this all mean? Even with leadership changes, the wheels of scientific progress and space exploration keep turning, both in orbit and on the ground, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. It's pretty inspiring stuff. 5. Economic currents and everyday impacts. Okay, let's transition now, bring it back down to Earth, and talk about the world of economic currents. How are these big shifts impacting our everyday lives? From the global stock markets down to, well, the price of a flight or even a toy.
Well, globally, the markets are showing some interesting, maybe mixed trends. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq both hit record highs at the start of the week. This was largely fueled by significant gains in big tech companies. Investors are keenly anticipating major tech earnings reports, giants like Tesla and Alphabet, which is Google, of course. But at the same time, they're closely monitoring those ongoing trade developments we discussed earlier for their potential market impact. So it's this kind of mix of optimism driven by tech, coupled with caution due to those persistent geopolitical uncertainties.
Tech driving things up, but caution elsewhere. Got it. But while tech giants are pushing markets to new heights, other sectors are feeling the squeeze, right? It's not an even picture.
Not at all. It clearly demonstrates the uneven impact of these economic currents. Take the automotive industry, for instance. Jeep maker Stellantis is bracing for a substantial first-half net loss, estimated at $2.7 billion. This is largely attributed to the impacts of tariffs and disruptions from product transitions in key markets. The company reported a 6% decline in second quarter shipments, and they faced a direct hit of $350 million just from tariffs alone. So this clearly shows how geopolitical trade policies can directly affect major corporations and their bottom line, translating those global political decisions into significant financial impacts.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The ripple effects of global politics directly impacting everything from massive car manufacturers like Stellantis to the highs and lows of your stock portfolio. It's all connected. And it's not just global markets. National economic policies have significant everyday impacts too. In the United Kingdom, the Department for Work and Pensions, the DWP, they issued a pretty sobering warning.
Yeah, quite sobering. The DWP, which is responsible for welfare, pensions, and child maintenance in the UK, warned that future pensioners, those retiring around 2050, are likely to be worse off than those retiring today. Why? Largely because, apparently, 4 in 10 individuals are simply not saving enough for retirement. This isn't just a statistic, it's potentially a future crisis brewing. It highlights a significant challenge in long-term financial planning and might call for broader governmental intervention or at least major public awareness campaigns.
4 in 10. That's a huge number.
It is, and this raises an important question. Are current policies sufficient to address these systemic issues, like pensions or infrastructure? Or are they merely patching holes in fundamentally larger economic challenges? Another area of reform in the UK is the water industry. There's a new Water Ombudsman initiative being launched. This is to address persistent issues of leaks and overcharging, which have plagued the industry. The Cunliffe report proposed extensive reforms aimed at creating greater accountability and transparency within the privatized water sector. It's faced a lot of public criticism for its performance and financial practices. Now, while the full effectiveness of these reforms will take time to materialize, they represent a significant step towards greater accountability in a crucial utility sector, one that directly affects every single household.
Leaks and overcharging.
Yeah.
People get very upset about that. Rightly so. And speaking of UK infrastructure, what about the High-Speed 2 rail project, HS2? I heard some blunt assessments.
Very blunt. Insiders involved in HS2, that massive infrastructure project meant to connect London with major cities in the north, have apparently stated it was doomed to be a mess right from the start. They cite a fundamental problem in this country with the cost of building anything and serious issues within the planning system itself. It's a stark assessment of a massive public works project suggesting deep-seated issues in how the UK approaches large-scale development.
Doomed to be a mess.
Yeah.
Ouch. On the other hand, Germany seems to be pushing for investment.
Yes. Friedrich Merz, a conservative candidate for chancellor in Germany, is actively seeking to win over investment. He is positioning himself as a pro-business candidate, emphasizing fostering economic growth and stability by creating favorable conditions for investment. So this highlights a clear divergence in economic strategy and maybe confidence between two major European powers right now.
Interesting contrast indeed. Now, let's talk about some marketplace quirks in consumer behavior that offer a lighter, if sometimes slightly absurd, look at economics. Ryanair. Bonuses for spotting oversized bags. Is that real?
Apparently so. Ryanair, the notoriously budget-conscious airline, is reportedly considering increasing bonuses for staff who successfully spot oversized bags at the gate. This unusual incentive aims to tackle that pervasive issue of oversized carry-on luggage on their planes. It reflects the airline's dedication to, well, eradicating the problem, ensuring on-time departures, and maybe recouping some costs through bag fees. It's a direct response to a consumer behavior that costs them time and money.
A bonus for bag busting.
Yeah.
I can just picture the scenes at the boarding gate. The staff eagerly measuring bags, hoping for that bonus. It almost sounds like something out of a quirky comedy, but it speaks volumes about how airlines try to control costs and manage traveler behavior. And speaking of consumer quirks and surprising trends, what's this about a toy causing such a fuss it almost got banned in Russia?
Ah, yes, the Labubu toys. It's truly an unexpected cultural phenomenon over there. Labubu toys are these small, elf-like characters. They were originally launched in a blind box format back in 2019, where the collectibles are sold in opaque boxes so buyers don't know which specific character they'll get until they open it. Fuels a collecting frenzy. Well, they've gained immense popularity in Russia. Sales on just one e-commerce platform this year reportedly amounted to $17.6 million. That demonstrates a massive consumer appetite.
$17.6 million for little elf toys.
Okay. Yeah.
But why the ban calls?
Well, despite this popularity, there have been calls from some Russian lawmakers for a ban. Apparently due to concerns about the toy's appearance, some consider it too Western or even demonic. So it's this fascinating intersection of consumerism, global trends hitting local markets, and cultural gatekeeping. It proves that even a cute elf-like toy can somehow become a point of national debate.
Wow. So what does this all mean? From the mundane like bag fees to the truly bizarre like banned elf toys, consumer behavior continues to surprise, doesn't it? 6. Societal shifts and justice. All right, shifting gears now to societal shifts and justice. We're seeing ongoing tensions in protests, policing, and civil rights across the globe. And these incidents, though geographically separate, often reflect these deeply connected debates on immigration, policing tactics, and that ongoing tension between state authority and civil liberties.
That's a good way to put it. For example, in Epping, in the United Kingdom, police described a protest outside a hotel used to house asylum seekers as escalating into mindless thuggery. It led to 6 arrests. One individual is specifically accused of violent disorder and damaging a sign at the Bell Hotel. It really highlights the charged atmosphere surrounding immigration issues in many parts of the world, where public sentiment can unfortunately turn ugly and confrontational.
Yeah, those situations can escalate quickly. And in the United States, there's a debate about masks worn by law enforcement.
Yes, specifically Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, or ICE officers. They will continue to be allowed to wear masks despite ongoing controversy. Some state and local officials are pushing for bans on masks for officers. It reflects a broader societal debate as the visual of masked law enforcement becomes more prevalent in American life, extending even to immigration raids. Critics argue that masks obscure identity and can contribute to a sense of intimidation or maybe a lack of accountability. While proponents might cite safety protocols or operational reasons, it's a tension between public transparency and law enforcement practices.
I see. And in Kenya, an activist charged.
That's right. Prominent Kenyan human rights activist Boniface Mwangi, who's widely known as People's Watchman, has been granted bail. He was charged with illegal possession of ammunition and facilitating terrorist acts. His arrest is apparently connected with last month's deadly anti-government protests, which were triggered by the death of a blogger. This has sparked widespread condemnation online from rights groups. They're calling it an abuse of the justice system, suggesting it's a tactic to silence dissent rather than a legitimate criminal investigation. These stories really underscore that global struggle for civil liberties and accountability, and how legal mechanisms can sometimes be used or perceived to be used to control public narratives.
What's fascinating here is how these seemingly disparate incidents across the globe reflect deeply connected debates on immigration, policing tactics, and the ongoing tension between state authority and civil liberties. It's the same themes playing out differently.
Precisely. Now, moving to broader issues of justice and accountability, there was a major development in India regarding the Mumbai train blasts. An Indian court has acquitted all 12 individuals who were accused in connection with those devastating blasts back on July 11, 2006. Those blasts ripped through busy commuter trains during rush hour, killing 209 people and injuring over 700. A horrific attack. So this acquittal decision brings a completely new twist to a long-standing legal issue. It raises significant questions about justice and accountability in this high-profile case, particularly for the victims and their families who have waited nearly 2 decades for some form of resolution.
Acquitted after all this time.
Wow.
That must be incredibly difficult for the families. Okay, let's unpack this. The intersection of justice, celebrity, and sometimes chilling mysteries makes these stories particularly compelling and sometimes incredibly sad. They remind us that the quest for accountability is a global challenge, often fraught with political complexities. On the topic of high-profile cases in politics, there are reports about Donald Trump and the Jeffrey Epstein files.
Yes, reports have surfaced detailing an accuser's story suggesting how Donald Trump might appear in the released Jeffrey Epstein documents. The accuser claimed to have met Trump in Epstein's office. Multiple reports are detailing mentions of Trump in the files and discussing a specific troubling encounter. The focus is on potential connections revealed in these documents. It's crucial to emphasize, as always, that these are allegations and details emerging from a complex legal process being reported by various news outlets.
Right, important context. And this ties into broader political accusations.
It seems to feed into ongoing, highly polarized political narratives. For example, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has accused former President Barack Obama's administration of orchestrating what she called a coup plot. She alleged they manipulated intelligence to initiate the investigation into Trump and Russia. And Trump himself has endorsed calls for a criminal investigation into Obama over the Russiagate hoax, even sharing an AI-generated video depicting Obama being arrested and jailed. These are deeply divisive political narratives reflecting a highly charged political landscape. Accusations of political weaponization and manipulation are common from, frankly, both sides of the political spectrum in the U.S. right now. We're just reporting on the content of these claims and the sources discussing them, not endorsing any particular viewpoint, of course.
Understood. Completely different note now. But tragically, Dog the Bounty Hunter's step-grandson.
Yes, a heartbreaking incident. His 13-year-old step-grandson was accidentally shot and killed by his father, Gregory Zecca, in Tennessee. Described as an incomprehensible event, it has shocked the community and, as often happens with such incidents in the U.S., immediately raised concerns and debate about gun violence and responsible gun ownership. Just a stark reminder of the fragile nature of life and the tragic consequences of accidents, especially those involving firearms.
Terribly sad. And then there are these mysteries, like the death of a former Ukrainian police chief in Spain.
Yes, that's raised quite a few eyebrows. The mysterious death of Igor Grushevsky. He was a former Ukrainian police chief who reportedly worked on organized crime task forces. He was found floating in a pool in Spain. What makes it suspicious is that it was in the very same apartment complex where a Russian defector was killed last year. The timing and location proximity have certainly sparked suspicions and intrigue. The coincidence suggests, to some observers, a level of deliberate action rather than just a tragic accident, raising questions about potential international intelligence operations and the long reach of political conflicts.
Definitely suspicious circumstances. Finally, in international law enforcement, a big move against drug cartels. Ecuador's biggest drug lord extradited.
That's right, Adolfo Macias, known widely as Fido. He's considered Ecuador's biggest drug lord and the leader of the powerful Los Llaneros gang. He has been extradited to the U.S. Reports say he is set to plead not guilty to charges of drug and weapons trafficking. This marks a significant step in international law enforcement efforts against these vast drug trafficking networks, especially as Ecuador continues to battle escalating violence from criminal gangs, violence that has plunged parts of the country into a state of internal armed conflict recently. This extradition is seen as a major win for authorities fighting organized crime and international drug cartels, as it removes a key figure from that battleground. 7. The world of sports and culture.
Okay, let's shift gears completely now to the often more entertaining, sometimes just as dramatic world of sports and culture, starting with golf's new dominator, Scottie Scheffler. Wow.
Yeah, Scottie Scheffler has truly solidified his place among golf's legends, hasn't he? Winning the Open Championship with such a dominant display, claiming his first claret jug at Royal Portrush in Northern Ireland. Just an incredible performance. Proves he's not just a flash in the pan, but a consistent force in professional golf.
Totally. And what's fascinating here is how Scheffler's humility and his, philosophical perspective on life beyond golf adds another layer to his incredible dominance, makes him a compelling figure beyond just the scores.
Absolutely. Despite the constant comparisons to Tiger Woods, which he himself dismisses as a bit silly, Scheffler maintains that there is more to life than playing golf. It offers this really reflective perspective on his success, reminding us that even at the absolute pinnacle of their sport, athletes often have a broader worldview. Golf analyst Ian Carter highlighted that Scheffler is now clearly the world's #1 player, which sets up a direct challenge for Rory McIlroy, whose next objective, according to Carter, is explicitly to topple Scheffler from the top spot. Sets the stage for a potentially exciting rivalry there.
Yeah, McIlroy versus Scheffler. That'll be fun to watch. Okay, let's unpack this. It's clear that as sports gain more visibility and stature, they also become a louder stage for broader societal conversations, right? About equality, respect, representation.
Definitely. This is especially true in football, or soccer as some listeners call it, particularly women's football. As women's football continues its fantastic growth and popularity, Lioness star Lucy Bronze highlights a concerning trend. increased abuse faced by female players. It underscores the challenges that unfortunately come with greater visibility. As the sport grows, so does the intensity of both the support and, sadly, the negativity and abuse from some online.
That's awful, but sadly not surprising. And this increased visibility also brings social discourse into sharper focus, like the taking the knee debate.
Exactly. Athletes and teams are grappling with how to best use their platforms. England women's manager Serena Wegman revealed that her players have decided to discontinue taking the knee before matches at the upcoming Euro 2025 tournament. They apparently believe the anti-racism gesture's impact is now not good enough. Quet. Now, this decision has, perhaps predictably, been questioned by anti-racism groups, especially after England player Jess Carter was racially abused on social media recently. It sparks that debate again. Are symbolic gestures still effective, or are more active, different forms of anti-racism needed? It's a complex and ongoing discussion about how best to combat discrimination in sports and society.
And these issues aren't confined to football, are they?
Not at all. Similarly, England's men's rugby players were reportedly subjected to racial abuse during their second test victory over Argentina in San Juan. It highlights that these problems are unfortunately pervasive across various sports, from football to rugby, and aren't unique to any one region or league. On a more positive note, though, for the sports structure in England, a historic bill to establish an independent football regulator, the IFR, has officially become law.
Ah, the regulator. That's been talked about for ages.
It has. It will oversee the men's game in England's top 5 divisions. This is a significant development aimed at improving governance, protecting the sport from financial mismanagement we've seen clubs go under, and ensuring fairer competition. It's a move many fans and experts have been calling for a long time.
Good news for the game's health, potentially.
Oh.
Okay, beyond golf, football, and rugby, other noteworthy moments across the athletic and cultural landscape. Big contracts always make headlines.
Always do. In American football, George Karlaftis, a defensive end for the Kansas City Chiefs, agreed to a lucrative 4-year, $93 million extension. Solidifies his future with the team, makes him one of the highest paid at his position. In European football, Liverpool secured French striker Hugo Ekitike for a reported £69 million. That pushes their total summer spending over $250 million, a clear signal of their ambition for the upcoming season. And in basketball, veteran point guard Chris Paul has reportedly agreed to a deal to return to the Los Angeles Clippers for what would be his 21st NBA season. Sparks excitement about his potential impact and a reunion with former teammates there. These big contracts just illustrate the massive financial stakes in professional sports today.
21st season. Incredible longevity.
Yeah.
So from high-stakes contracts to, well, controversies. The world keeps spinning with its unique blend of the serious and the delightfully unexpected, and sometimes those two collide spectacularly. Sports leadership controversies.
Seems so. J.C. Tretter announced his resignation as president of the National Football League Players Association, the NFLPA, the union representing NFL players. This apparently sparked surprise and speculation amid reports of controversial strip club expenses involving union funds and critical text messages shared among NFL players. Raises questions about the organization's governance. And in Formula One, McLaren Racing CEO Zach Brown expressed he was not surprised by Christian Horner's recent sacking as Red Bull team boss following earlier controversies. It indicates internal dynamics and controversies are alive and well in high-stakes sports management, often with a lot of drama playing out behind the scenes.
Never a dull moment in F1, it seems. And in a politically charged intersection of sports and culture, President Trump weighing in on team names.
Yes, former President Donald Trump is urging the Washington Commanders, formerly the Redskins, and the Cleveland Guardians, formerly the Indians, to revert to their previous team names. He has even reportedly threatened to try and block the Commanders' proposed $3.7 billion stadium deal if they do not change back. This reignites those long-standing controversies around team identity and cultural sensitivity. Critics argue the former names are offensive and perpetuate harmful stereotypes of Native Americans. Others view them as historical tradition. Trump's direct intervention certainly amplifies the discussion, highlighting how cultural identity and history are deeply tied to these names for many, and how political figures can leverage such debates.
A debate that probably won't go away anytime soon. Okay, shifting fully to culture now. Some sad news first. Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Yes, very sad. Malcolm Jamal Warner, best known for playing Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, tragically passed away at the age of 54. Reports say it was an accidental drowning incident while he was in Costa Rica. His legacy as a beloved actor, a positive role model for a generation, will certainly live on. His passing is a somber reminder of life's fragility.
Really sad news. But then we have living legends still going strong. Stevie Wonder.
Yes. Music icon Stevie Wonder, in an exclusive BBC interview, declared, "I'll keep playing as long as I breathe." That's the spirit we love to hear, isn't it? A testament to enduring passion and artistry from a true legend. And for a lighter cultural note, Girl Guiding, the major UK organization, similar to Girl Scouts, unveiled 72 new badges. Apparently, this is only the second time they've done a major badge overhaul in their 116-year history.
Wow, what kind of new badges?
The new badges include things like fandoms and laughter. It reflects evolving interests among young people and shows the organization adapting to modern trends, which is a wonderful way to keep traditions relevant and engaging for kids today. And finally, for royal watchers and fashion enthusiasts, a major exhibition is opening at Buckingham Palace. It will showcase Queen Elizabeth II's fashion, narrating the story of her long life and reign through her clothing choices. Offers a unique glimpse into history, public image, and the subtle diplomacy often conveyed through sartorial decisions.
From fandom badges to the Queen's wardrobe. So what does this all mean? From sports controversies and high-stakes contracts to cultural touchstones like beloved actors passing and living legends thriving, the world keeps spinning with its unique blend of the serious and the delightfully unexpected. And that, my friends, brings us, I think, to the close of another deep dive. Today, we've taken a really comprehensive journey through the week's most compelling stories, haven't we? We navigated the complexities of global conflicts, from the devastating humanitarian crisis in Gaza and the immense human toll it continues to take, to the escalating aerial attacks in Ukraine and that delicate dance between military action and diplomatic overtures. We explored the cutting edge of technology, from critical cybersecurity breaches highlighting our digital vulnerabilities to the transformative and sometimes ethically challenging role of artificial intelligence across industries and public services. We journeyed into the cosmos, witnessing the truly awe-inspiring birth of a solar system and marveling at innovative space missions that push the boundaries of human ingenuity and our understanding of the universe. And finally, we touched on significant economic shifts impacting global markets and individual lives, alongside those fascinating human stories playing out in the world of sports and broader culture, reminding us of the interconnectedness of our global society.
Yeah, and the rapid pace of information in our world, it really demands more than just grabbing headlines, doesn't it? It requires a deep dive like this one to really grasp the why and the what's next. To understand the interconnectedness of these global events and how they might impact you, your community, your world, our goal is always to provide that clarity, to help you see the threads that connect seemingly disparate events, offering a balanced perspective on what is, let's face it, a complex world. We hope you feel not just informed, but truly well-versed in the week's critical developments after listening.
So as we continue to navigate a world where information spreads instantly and narratives can be so deeply polarized, the question remains, how do we cultivate the critical thinking needed? Needed to discern truth, to understand diverse perspectives, and maybe more importantly, to recognize the profound impact these stories have beyond just the noise. It's a challenge for sure, but one we believe is essential for everyone who wants to be truly well-informed and engaged in the world.
Absolutely. Remember, knowledge isn't just about accumulating facts, is it? It's about understanding their context, their implications, and the multiple viewpoints that shape how we see them. It's about building a framework for comprehension in a world that's constantly changing, allowing you to engage with the news rather than just letting it wash over you.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep digging deeper into the fascinating, complex, sometimes scary, sometimes wonderful world around us. We'll be here with your next deep dive.